The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for attending today. I'm Scott Halen, Director of Program Operations here at NFRC, and we have other multiple staff on the call as well. Robin's taking care of our registers, so if you have any technical difficulties, please email Robin Merrifield or probably use the question and answer dashboard. We're going to have Steve York, I think Dennis Anderson, Kevin Lauder, and maybe Mike Toman. I forget who's doing all these ballots, but the liaison will speak about each of the ballots that we're going to talk about. Just to sort of put this in perspective here, this meeting's not to like debate the ballot language. It's just to provide you possibly some clarity or questions to the ballot language that may be confusing or something like that to you. Each of us will just do a short summary of the ballot and go from there. So I know we had some late attendees, late registers. And at the end of each ballot, if you do have a question, you can just raise your hand and we'll unmute you and answer your question. All right, with that, start going. All right, so thank you again. We have a bunch of 100 ballots that we're going through here. We'll go through them, and then we're going to go through the 102, the 203, and I think we have 101 and 400, I think, are what's remaining. So the first one we have here is our 100 skylight mounting workgroup ballot. And basically what the skylight mounting workgroup was doing is they were looking at terminology and inconsistencies in the mounting practices, particularly the ones that are happening today, way things are being installed today on buildings. And there was just some confusion. Maybe there's better ways of doing it. So this ballot was developed. As you can see here under the bullet points, there's a addition of the definition to the term curb, and that was in accordance with 600. And I do know there was a typo in there. I think it was supposed to say roof and it says room. So we figure a very simple negative ballot, persuasive and editorial will take care of that. And then there was a new definition called roof mount added. And then we had some revisions to other terms. And then in the section 5.32, we had added language there, modified language based on the definitions, and 5434 was to the use of the curb, remove that because of the way we're using the curb now. We're defining the curb. So that's it with that ballot. Does anybody have any questions? Please just raise your hand. I can unmute you. Okay, if not, I'm going to move to the next one. And I believe this is Steve.
Hi, Scott. Can you hear me?
You're good, Steve. Thanks.
All right. Thank you. So this ballot, and we do have a similar one for NFRC 200 that we'll get to in a couple minutes. But this ballot is to update and change the language in the appendix in NFRC 100 on how to do ratings for alternate sizes that are different than the NFRC standard size. So basically, we're getting a lot more questions about having alternate size ratings that are different from the NFRC standard size. And what we did was we looked at that language and said, you know what, we have an approved method for doing that from that commercial trend line approach, and we can adopt that for any window with some exceptions, and the exceptions are in the ballot language itself, and use that as the same method to get alternate sizes for products that are also in the CPD, as opposed to just the commercial ballot, the commercial windows that we have in that CTA program. So that's basically what we're doing, is just updating that and making it the same method so that it's easier, quicker, and can be done by just about anybody. So again, we have an NFRC 200 ballot that is very similar to this, but updates the language in the NFRC 200 appendix as opposed to the 100. That is it for that one. So again, if anybody has any questions, please raise your hand and we can unmute you and
Joe Hayden
feel free
has
to
a
ask.
Joe, you're self-muted. You should go.
There
Yep.
we go. Yeah, can you hear me okay?
You're good, Joe.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Steve. Just a question. It seems to me that one of the key items here is that with this change, manufacturers can now do these calculations themselves without being required to go through a certified sim lab. Am I reading that correctly?
Yes.
I think that's one of the key changes. So yeah, okay. Thank you for clarifying.
Good point.
Sure.
Good question, Joe. Thanks.
One of the other key things with this to keep in mind too, and it is on your screen, these alternate size ratings are for informational purposes only and are not to be considered certified by NFRC. So same way with CMA, we provide for alternate sizes, but they are not considered to be certified. So please just keep that in mind. And then the labeled ratings are still the ratings that are listed in the CPD only.
Okay. Yep, good follow-up, Steve. Okay, no more hands. All right. So we have a series of TI ballots. I appreciate Dennis Anderson did good work on this. So the next following series you're going to see are basically TIs that what we do is occasionally every few years, sometimes it could be 5 to a decade. What we do is we take this approved language in the TI and we roll that into the standard, whether it's the 100, 200, or whatever. So the next series of TI ballots you'll see are a series of TI interpretations, technical interpretations going into the test method. All right, Dennis, you're up.
All right, hey Scott. As Scott alluded to, this these next few series, I'm not going to get too in depth because they all are approved language. It's just all we want to do is take it out of that large TI manual and bring it into the appropriate document. So in essence, when you're looking at all these TIs, this first one here is there's a language on pocket doors. You're really what you're voting on is not the go against what the language is. It's make sure that we put it in the right spot in the document, or is it do we misword it? So if you do vote negative, it's really probably I don't know if it probably found non-germane or if it's found germane, then it'll just stay in the TI manual. So just and so be approved. So it's really you're just helping us that did we focus the language and put it in the appropriate spot within that document, that technical document. So again, this one I'm not going to waste you guys' time showing you the actual TI, but so this is just regarding pocket doors. So if you want to go to the next one, it's just how to rate it and shows you how we do it or how similar it is to do it. And the next one, pivot doors and windows. Again, there's instructions or in the TI that tells a simulator how they would do a pivot door and also a window. So that's also as a TI, and you're to vote on. It's put in the right spot. This frame absorptance TI again is simply just to make sure that that you're using if you're not using the default frame absorptance, the language is to allow you can go outside the default if you wish. That's what the TI was. So that's all is do we put it in the right location in the document? The next. There's regarding the dynamic glazing again, same thing. Did we focus the right thing on that TI 2018-04? Next. And I can stop anybody who wants to stop me if you wanted clarification on any of these, let me know. But again, I'm not going to go into the actual TI because it's approved language. This one just helps with describing that if you are going to do a default steel door, you are to use the default sill. And so we put the default sill was already in 100. We're just now making it clear that the default steel door will use the default steels or the default sill that's listed in 100. Next, this one is actually Kevin helped me with this one. So, but I don't think there's anything Kevin needs really explained again. It's just something that was written as a TI. We want to get it out of the TI manual and bring it into the 100 document. Next. This one again.
Put the
Was
wrong summary in there. Sorry about that, Dennis. That's my fault.
Okay, that's no problem. So if they read the header, it says 100 COG divided group. So it's just what you are not supposed to do when you're doing, if you're going to group dividers, you cannot use center glass. So we made that clear.
Thank you. Thank you for clarifying that a lot better.
All right. Bifold window, again, we're just defining what a bifold window definition. So that was put in the definitions. Because we do talk about bifold in 100, it was never defined. So to help the simulator know that you are to rate a bifold window as a double casement size. And all right, next two, yeah, these are the 102 ballot was again, it's a 102 TI ballot. Hopefully that says that in your ballots, but it's just we're also rolled in language from the TI into the 102. And the 203, the same thing as it should be a TI ballot as well. It's help with there's an illustration on how to define the angle, all these weird angles with the sun and
Surface angle. Yeah.
so that one's really, these should be no brainers. But obviously, if you don't like where they're sitting in the ballot or in that technical document, please vote negative and explain where it should go.
Okay.
All right.
And here they are. Yeah.
There's 102. Okay, so we just explained the CTS size, and there's the surface tilt angle.
Yep.
Stuff probably way over a lot of people's heads, and sometimes I get lost in all that stuff too. So.
And okay, 101. So does anybody have any questions or raise your hand about the Joe Hayden does? All right, Joe. Go ahead, Joe.
Yeah, thanks, Scott. Dennis, just one point on the default steel door sill ballot. Actually, look, if I'm reading it right, there are actually two default sills, but what this ballot says is that if you're using the default steel frame, you use the non-thermal sill option.
Correct. There's
a thermally broken sill and a non-thermally broken sill, which you can still use the thermally broken sill for wood frames, if I didn't get it right, but for steel frames,
yes,
you must use a non-thermal sill.
Yeah, hopefully the ballot says that, and if that's not the case, then for sure vote negative. But that was the intent was, the steel door, the steel frame shall use the steel non-thermal or the non-thermal aluminum sill.
Right, and non-steel frames can use the thermally broken sills.
Correct.
That's how I'm reading it. Okay, thanks.
Good. Thank you, Joe.
Thanks, Joe.
Good clarification question there. Don't have any other hand raised. Okay. Thank you, Dennis. Appreciate it. Or these might be yours too, right? 101. Did we lose Dennis? Can you guys hear me?
Yeah. Can you hear me, Scott?
Yeah, there you go. Yep, you're good now.
Well, I'm showing that I'm getting internet issues is popping in, but maybe I'll just go. If you guys do lose me, Kevin's aware of these ballots as well for 101.
Great. Okay.
I think Joe is too, if you want to. But yeah, these are not TI ballots. These definitely are.
Correct.
It was just to help something I found in 101 to help clarify it just make it even a better document than it has been. So it's already a pretty good document, but I just made it. I wanted to make sure the reporting items were clarifying. There's a couple of test standards that require that you have to report steady state, but there's a couple test standards that don't use steady state. So I want to indicate in the specific reporting requirements that you do not have to report steady state as if it's a test method or not, that doesn't do that. So you'll see in the ballot it says if applicable, instead of just being like a hard stop on a period saying you will report this. It's if applicable. So it just there are a few ways to get connectivity for a material, and some of the test methods do not use steady state, so approach. So
We
it would
lost
just
you there for
clarify,
about
makes
10
my life a little easier because I'm actually reviewing all their test reports and the peer review group also. You did? Okay.
Yeah, lost you about 10 seconds.
We're still okay though?
Yeah, we can still hear you.
Okay.
You're on the frame absorbance ballot. You need to speak to these at all?
Not necessarily. It's again, it was just we've been using the term probably incorrectly in 101. It says solar absorptivity. Really, it's the frame absorptance. So it's more just to clarify that we use frame absorption.
All right. Then we have our density ballot.
This one, again, without actually seeing the ballot itself, but more just to clarify what you will report or how to measure density. It wasn't super clear on some instances, specifically with wood or some other like plastics that usually the densities come from the not the manufacturer, but it could come from a vinyl supplier, but of like a raw virgin material. But when you actually get a sample, when a test lab gets a sample, they have to measure density when they get those samples, and how they're not going to use put it in a big bath like some of those fancy ASTM procedures show. You simply can just use a calibrated scale, calibrated tape measure, calibrated calipers, and do your density measurements that way. That's not out of line, and so it makes things a little easier for the lab to measure density. So you'll see that in the ballot. This explains that you can simply just use a scale and a tape measure to get measurements and get your volume and weight.
Excellent. And then we have our data review ballot.
Yeah, this one just make life easier for staff. It was said we had like 5 days to get out after something's been approved or announcing some updates. 5 days isn't enough. So I just allow it because we publish things once a month now. We've been doing that for several years. So if someone submits a product like the 10th day of the month, we're not going to do it by the end of the month. It's going to go into the next month. We only publish the 101 once a month. So that's just to clarify that what staff's responsibility is.
Excellent. On behalf of staff, we say thank you. All right. Anybody have any questions? I think that's the last one. Yep. So any 101 ballot questions, please raise your hand. All right. Thank you, Dennis. Appreciate it.
Thanks.
As you know, the 200's next. So I believe Steve, what he said earlier, but
Yeah, I'm back.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like I said earlier with the 100 ballot, this is basically the same thing. For anybody that is industrious enough to actually go look at the approved CTA language on this one, we did change this just a little bit. We got rid of a couple equations that we didn't actually use on this one. So this doesn't match up quite exactly with the original CTA language, but everything that you need to do the calculation is there. And it's basically the same thing as the 100 ballot. Again, you don't need to go through a lab to get this done. And again, the ratings are for informational purposes only, and only ratings at the NFRC standard size will be listed in the CPD, considered to be certified, and be able to be put on actual NFRC labels.
Excellent. All right. Any questions, folks? Raise your hands, please. All right. 400 ballot. I'm not sure. I think this might be Dennis again.
Yeah, that's me too. Yeah, this is maybe the only maybe one thing that could be contentious, if anything at all, here is that the task group 400 task group agreed to remove the NAFs year 2008 from the 400 document, and then they're adding in the 2022 version. So you'll see then 400 actually lists several years of NAFs documents. So they're going to get rid of the oldest one and the newest one. And there's some small other editorial changes, but so the big thing to come out of this is we're adding a new version of NAFs and we're removing the oldest one, 2008.
Okay, any questions? 400 ballot, folks. All right, well, that looks like it's it. All right, as you can see here, if you have any questions, particularly to the meetings, you can go to meetings@nfrc.org. Obviously, questions regarding the ballots, please contact a staff liaison that spoke up during the call. There should be emails as well to maybe the author of the ballot. I could speak like on the skylight. I think Alex Sorge is the task group chair for the skylight mounting. You could actually email him as well. Other than that, any other questions, please raise your hand. And I think the ballots are open till, I'm not exactly sure the exact date, closing date.
September 28th.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Robin. And if you are having any issues with the balloting with Spec Builder, Jen Pageant is our staff liaison for that. So please reach out to Jen if you're having any questions. You could reach out to any staff and we'll get you in touch with Jen, basically is what will happen. Okay. Anything else? Did we miss anything, folks, on the team here? Anybody? All right. Other than that, thank you so much for your time. Appreciate it. Thank you, Robin, for getting this together. Thank you.
Yep. Thank you, everybody.